Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's Daishion Miller here, and we're here with our Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. Anyway, new episode for you, and I apologize for having to change the time for those of you who catch us live. Got a busy schedule, right? It's what happens when you have goals and you're heading and you're moving and you're doing things. Anyway, so I had to shift things, and those of you who are used to kind of jumping on our weekly training this week, again, schedule. I've got to shift that a little bit, so I'll let you know about that later on as we go. But what we're going to be working on or taking a look at today is this idea that kind of comes out of the Gyokko school, but it's actually kind of global, right? You'll see it in a lot of different places, whether we're looking at the way a lineage is laid out traditionally or whatever, right? So there's this idea. It comes from the Gyokko school. There's a name for it. I tend to call it the 3-in-1, 1-in-3 principle. I'll kind of give you a glimpse of what both sides look like, but we're going to be focusing on one this week, and then next week we'll take a look at the other side. And I always do these things so that they match up with our weekly virtual training, or for those who come in for the class, right, for our master class. And that way you get a chance to see it in action, right? So again, Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday, these things are about the big, 30,000 foot view, looking down over the landscape and seeing how things kind of go together, that kind of big picture view. And then in class, we can kind of take a look at it, kind of like boots on the ground, what it would look like actually in a defensive situation, that kind of thing, right? So anyway, let's just kind of jump into things, right? There's this 3-in-1, 1-in-3 kind of idea. And again, this is not unique to just the Gyokko school, right? I mean, if we look at ninjutsu itself, right? 3 types of ninja practitioners or ninja operatives, or not even operatives, right? 3 positions within a ninja family, right? Historically, right? So what most people think of as ninja, right, were these genin, right? Genin, low man, right? Doesn't mean that it devalued them or anything like that, right? This was the name given to the field operatives. These are the guys that went out. They were like the James Bonds and all that, right? They're the ones that had all these skills that everybody's fantasizing about, right? The ability to scale walls and use shuko and whatever, right? Right? That's one, right? It's an important thing. It's an important place, right? And then we have this chunin, right? Middleman, right? They're like, again, staying with the 007 analogy, right? They're like M, right? He's the guy that gets the orders or knows what the needs are, right? And how we're going to align or whatever, right? And then he decides which operatives he's going to use based on their skill sets and everything from language and whatever, right? Of course, in the movies, he's always picking James Bond, but it's a James Bond movie, for damn sake. Anyway, so but you shoot it, right? Whole different type of ninjutsu, right? Whole different type, right? The skill sets are vastly different. Does that mean that they don't, how to use nipple taijutsu? They aren't good with weapons? No, of course not, right? But not to the extent that the field operatives need it and use it, because they're not doing that kind of thing, right? They need to be able to manage people. They need to be able to strategically and tactically think about what's needed and how to best use the assets they have, how to gather information, how to check to make sure the information you're getting is valid, how to make sure that the information you're getting from certain sources can be trusted. Whole bunch of different kind of skill sets, right? So, it's different, right? And then, of course, there's this top person, right? The jonin, right? The high man. There's only one of them, right? Right. So, their idea, their whole thing is they're hiding in plain sight right out in society, hobnobbing with the big wigs and all that kind of stuff, right? Whole different skill set, right? They've got to understand how to make money and establish wealth, reputation, all kinds of things, right? How to elicit information and gather kind of things in a way that nobody even thinks that that's their thing, right? So again, what most people have been convinced is ninjutsu is just one type, right? So there's that, right? When we're looking at ninjutsu for any part, any role within that, right? What makes a ninja, right? We've got 3 aspects of a ninja, right? We've got the Miwo Shinobu, the body capable of enduring. We have the Kokoro Shinobu, the mind capable of enduring. And then we have the Shikiwo Shinobu, this insight, right? This inner perspective that's able to reconcile the natural laws between what's going on the inside or the microcosm and how that affects or what it looks like in a macrocosmic kind of thing, big picture kind of thing, right? So these kind of things are all over the place, right? In lineages, right, you often have three primary scroll kind of things, how things are broken out. So this is not a new thing, right? But what we want to do is take this and apply it to our training. That's where I got it through the Gyokko-Ryu channel, right? But what we're looking at is two different ways, this 3-in-1, 1-in-3, two different perspectives to overlay over our training, over our techniques and things that can allow us to see things in a very, very different way, tailor our training in one or the other direction, both, right? But one at a time, right? That could actually kind of explode things out, right? And that's the idea, right? So again, let's shift to the whiteboard, right? So the 3-in-1 kind of idea, right, is the idea that if we have any given thing, and I don't care what it is, right? It could be your rolling, it could be a kata, right? Let's say it's Ichimonji no kata, right? For those of you who train in the Bujinkan, right? Ichimonji no kata, right? Which everybody knows that's the name for, here's an example for how to use Ichimonji no kamae in a combat situation, right? So you learn the kamae, and then you learn kata, which are examples of how to apply that thing, right? Okay. And if that you didn't get that lesson, I apologize, not my fault. There it is. Okay. So, but you have this kata, right? So what we're really looking at is, and again, the 3 is subjective, right? It's no less than 3. Okay? It's kind of like in Takagi Yoshin and all that, right? Where the idea is in breaking multiple lines of balance at the same time, preferably 3 or more. There's that 3 thing again, right? So anyway, right, so we've got this kata, and I'm going to try to use some colors here that won't disappear when, through the whole video processing kind of thing. And what we're going to look at doing is dividing this, right, into at least 3 aspects. Hopefully you can see that, right? Dividing into at least 3 aspects so I can separate one part of that out and take a look at it, and separate another part out, take a look at it, separate. Now, these are not just 3, right? It could be 3 on the physical level, which is something we're going to be working on for the class that's associated with this, for our weekly virtual masterclass. So I'll talk about that in a minute, right? But it could be that. It could be timing, distancing, angling, which are dynamics, right? It could be breaking it out and taking a look at it in 3 different contexts, right? One-on-one, one against many, right? Or looking at it in a different atmosphere, right? Moving outside the dojo. So maybe we're going to look at it between 2 parked cars, or we're going to look at it in a tight space, a wide open spaces, which is how most people train, right? They either go to the park or they've got a dojo, big open sterile area, whatever, right? Or we're going to, whatever. We're going to look at it in an area where it's fairly open, but there's obstacles, right? Could be like our living room or something like that, where fairly open room, furniture's out around the edges, but there might be a coffee table in the middle, or the kids' toys, or whatever, right? So there's different ways to kind of break this thing out, but the whole idea is we split it into 3 aspects. We're able to pull things out and just dive into that aspect, right? What I'm talking about here is the kata. That's what we're going to be doing for this upcoming class. I'm going to pull out an aspect of the kata. So I'll get to that in just a minute, right? So let me get rid of this part here, right? We'll come back to that, right? And then another way to do this, right? The 3-in-1 is 3 aspects in one kind of thing that you're looking at. Again, could be rolling, could be leaping, could be, I don't know, a knife kata, whatever, okay? The 1-in-3, right, points to a central principle. Okay, I'm going to break this out next week, right? But a central principle or concept that is universal. It's the same regardless of the technique or skill we're looking at. I know I said 1-in-3, but again, it could be more, right? At least 3, right? So at a certain point in your training, and again, this is for next week, but at a certain point in your training, what you want to do is look at your techniques and your skills in a very different way, and look at them from a principle or concept kind of thing. What's driving it? and then start to look at these things in groupings, because this is going to get you to variation faster. This is going to get you to adaptation faster, because if I'm going in a certain direction and we're taking a person a certain, in a certain way, right, off their heels or whatever, right, there's certain skills and techniques that's what they do, right? So if I'm working on one and it starts to fail, I already know others that, right, that failed technique is really this. It's not a failure, right? It's something else going on, and what I want to do is catch that thing. That's what allows Daishihan and upper level people and Hatsumi Sensei, Soke, whatever, right, to just, it always looks like whatever's going on is perfectly okay with us, okay? Because we can just keep moving in that direction, right? That's something the 3-in-1 kind of thing that we're going to talk about today gets you to, on our curriculum, to Nidan, right? If you're looking at the global Bujinkan kind of thing, based on what Hatsumi Sensei taught me along the way, and we're not going to discuss why I don't do it the way he does it and all that kind of stuff. I'm just that's not even an issue, right? If that's an issue, go. If you need to have something really, really high behind this thing, regardless of how much work you put into it, find somebody who will do that for you, all right? But anyway, right, based on the way he kind of approached that, right, that was around 8th or 9th dan, right? So don't get thrown off by somebody who's got a 1 number behind their belt and someone's got another number behind their belt. What was the standard that allowed for those things to happen? Because you might find that just because this guy has this and this guy has this, that this guy has exactly the same thing, or this guy might have, okay? Either way, right? So again, we're going to look at this next week, right? But this is a unifying principle. So we have to actually change our perspective about maybe some of the techniques that we've learned, right? Because you might find that certain names are the same, right? That you might have learned a technique, right, that has a name to it, and then we're going to go and say, yeah, but that uses, we're going to use the same name, okay? Omote Gyaku, whatever, right? We're going to use that as the principle, right? So this is the Omote Gyaku principle. And that Omote Gyaku principle is in this technique, this technique, this technique, okay? Right? So anyway, right? Remember, one of the traits of a ninja, right? Hopefully in all the brand names that are coming out these days, right? One of the primary traits of a ninja is a nimble mind, right? It's open and it's able to conceptualize and work with things, right? That's what makes us great problem solvers. That's what makes us very, very adaptable to things. That's what makes us just okay with whatever's going on, and able to find, right, the solutions to whatever's happening very, very quickly, right? I find that people tend to talk about this stuff because they can quote out of a book or they can parrot another teacher. But when you watch how they act and how they operate and how they do things, let's just say there's not a nimble mind in there. There's one that's tripping over a whole bunch of shit, okay? So anyway, all right, so let's get back to this 3-in-1 kind of thing, right? And the way we're going to take a look at it this week, right? So again, just Ichimonji no kata, okay? Ichimonji no kata, not Ichimonji no komai, right? I know I'm getting all sloppy with things, right? Okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to isolate 3 different things, right? So I don't care if you do the original thing I did or you do it this kind. It doesn't matter, right? What we're going to do is we're going to break out 3 different things, and the reason why I'm doing it this way is we're going to take a look at, again, the timeline of a fight. Okay, the timeline of a fight or an attack. Okay. And if we understand how this works, what we can start to get a handle on is that there are at least 3 different things. And I know in other videos and other trainings, we've talked about 5 phases for handling that physical attack, right? We've talked about 8 phases of self-defense strategy and making sure that we're trained in each of those things, right? What we're going to do is we're going to take that 5, we're just going to bring it in a bit. We're going to chop off the 2 at the end, right? This discernment idea. And what we're going to talk about is the shit's hit the fan, right? Things are happening right now, right? So that's what we're going to take a look at, right? So we're going to break this out into 3 things, right? Any kata, and while some kata like Keol from the Koto school, I think it's Keol, might be Keito, they kind of match, but one expands on what happens if this one fails, and then something, right? So it's about catching things. There's a whole bunch of embedded lessons in these things if we're able to make the right connections, right? So let me turn something else back on here because I obviously forgot to do that. Where the hell is it? That's what I get for being my own producer too. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so any kata, right? Any kata has entry, right? Okay, so we're entering, right? Entering. We have to get through his defenses, right? And that's the whole idea. Okay, so I know there's like I said, we've got these other 5 phases and things like, or the 5, right, where we have to neutralize things and all that. And that's all part of this. But the whole idea is I have to create an opening, and I have to be able to enter without getting my teeth knocked down my throat, or without getting my ass handed to me, or without getting the lights turned out, or whatever, right? Okay, so there's entering, right? This is all what Sanshin is all about. Okay. If you have any of Hatsumi Sensei's old videos, right? Sanshin is about penetration. Okay, don't get a dirty mind when we're talking about penetration. Anyway, right? So Sanshin is about penetration. How do I enter to deliver my strike or my grab or my kick or whatever, and he can't defend, escape, counter, resist, whatever. Okay, it's a whole science behind this, right? But anyway, so there's this entering, right? I'll write it up here, right? There's this delivery, right? We're actually delivering the technique. We're executing on the technique. So I don't care if you write deliver. I don't care if you call it executing, whatever. Right? I don't care if you call it consummating, right? Whatever, right? So anyway, right? So we entered. We're in there, right? We're doing the do, right? And then at the tail end, right? There's, I don't want to call it recovery, right? I had a good word for this earlier. You know what? I've got my notes right here. Duh. What the hell did I call it? Okay. So our control or finish. Okay. So the reason why I have a couple of words here is that if I get this person to a position where I can lock them up, like in the Gyokko school, right? One use of Hicho no Kamae is to create an arm bar that locks this guy and gets him on his side, exposes the spine, the spinal column and the organs and all that stuff from behind, that you're in this position, you can lock him up. So you can use your knee to lock him, and then bang, you can use your toe against these different things, right? Different ways to do it in different systems. But either way, right? So I might drop the guy into a restraint or whatever, right? Or it might just be on his way down. Pop, I hit a disconnect point and he's just out for the count in one way or the other. And right, so it's a finish, right? Or it might be, I've done my thing, he's dropped to the ground, he's kind of rolled away from me, and I've lost that kind of control. So I'm shifting back into a kamae so I can observe and watch to see if he's going to get up, run off, if he's going to kind of almost get up and then drop again, you know, the cool movie drama stuff, right? Or if he's getting his ass up off the ground, he's going to come back in, or if he's reaching for a weapon, whatever, right? Okay. So, but three different areas through this thing. We need to be able to look at our kata or our techniques. I don't care if it's an official kata. I don't care if it's a henka variation. I don't care if it's a model that your teacher created that you're going to be working on based on moving some elements together to convey a certain point. Doesn't matter. There's an entering phase, right, where we have to neutralize what they're doing and create a problem where they're off balance. Physically, mentally, emotionally, hopefully more than one of those at the same time, right? That allows me to put hands on, do what I need to do, right? And then as that's finishing, right, I'm dropping them into control or whatever, right? So if we can start to take a look at these things, then if we understand these things are happening, then what we can do, right, in our training is really start to examine, especially if we have a kata where sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, right? I have to rely on henka a whole lot, whatever, right? Or just to, I feel pretty good with this thing, but what else can I do with it, right? Is there a better, right? Where I'm always about giving up good for better, right? I don't believe that there's ever a best. I believe there's always something better, right? And I've just had certain teachers, right, sensei and all that, where you just kind of start experimenting with different things, like whether it's the counter strike or it's how you're moving the arm or whatever. All right, if I move it this way, does anything change? No, nothing changed. I still get the same control. Okay, what if I move it this way? Nope, I lose some control. Okay, so I don't want to do that, right? Move it this way. Oh, that changed control, gave me more, but it moved it in a different direction. It's kind of like when you're doing pressure points, right? Say I'm pushing on this nagare point, right? Most of us should know that. My guys all know it in Mod 1, right? So on their first 3 belt levels, right? So we're pressing into this, right? But I could change the angle, right? As I press in, I could hook back like I'm cocking a pistol, right? That creates the same kind of pain, right? Or I could press in and push, right? Like kind of extending into a Bujinkan. This thing, right? People that just get that, right? In the beginning, it's just like, oh, I could do this or I could do this. Until I say, watch their shoulder joint when you apply the pressure on each angle, okay? And there's moving it sideways. There's all kinds of things, right? There's moving in 90 degrees and it's scooping at 45, all that kind of stuff, right? But watch their shoulder joint. And then once you've watched their shoulder joint, watch the same side knee, whatever, right? And what you'll find is that each of these angles moves them in a different direction. Cool shit, right? Anyway, all right. So, but the point of the lesson and what we're going to be working on during this week's masterclass is the idea of you got your kata, you learn the moves, right? So it doesn't matter if you're trying to fix a problem or you're trying to take things to the next level, right? What we can do is just pull this out and just explore it, right? Just play around with it, right? Am I doing it right? Am I creating what I'm supposed to be creating? Am I doing what the kata is telling me I should be doing? Well, the kata doesn't say anything, sensei. Yeah, it does. I can't access the things or do the things easily that this part requires me to do if I didn't do this a very specific way. I have to produce certain results here to get to there, right? I'm kind of moving through because we got a late start and all that, and I got some instructors and students that'll be coming in here for a class. This place is going to just be hopping, right? So anyway, so we could pull this out, right? Or pull this one out, pull the delivery thing out, right? Just kind of set things up and then start to take a look at, all right, am I catching this the right way, or am I giving them an opening, right? When I move, every time I move, they should be moving in a way that puts them more and more off balance. If I'm moving and they're not, they're regaining their balance and I'm dying. Okay, so there's litmus tests in each one of these things, right? There's certain things that he can and cannot do that allow me to get to the next part of this, right? When I'm doing this, if I screw this up, I don't care how much in soft training my partner lets me do it, never ever forget, no one in this freaking planet other than your training partner is going to let you do this shit to them. Ever. Ever. And if you train like that's not true, I wish you well. Okay? So, but we can pull this out, right? Make sure that we've got it down, right? Okay? And then maybe not, right? Maybe we got these things, right? We can pull the controls and the finish out. So we might have to put our partner in a certain position, right? Then do that last part. So as they slide down our body or we do this finish, we can start to experiment with what causes them to crash and burn. What takes away their ukemi? Because remember, beginner lessons, the first transmission of any kata is so you can learn the step-by-step, but also so that your partner can take ukemi. Combat version of all this is your partner should never be able to take ukemi. Okay? They must crash and burn or get stuck on themselves or whatever, right? If they can take ukemi, well, if what you're doing, if your definition of good or mastery or good enough, whatever the hell you want to call it, right, is demonstration quality at the park during the summer fair. Nobody's getting hurt, right? But it looks fucking cool, man, right? Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Okay? But this is one way to look at this, right? So this 3-in-1 is 3 aspects, right? You could look at it from the aspect of I'm going to take a look at the counter strike part, right? I'm going to take a look at the unbalancing part. I'm going to take a look at my takedown part, right? You can break it apart a whole bunch of different ways. We're going to look at it. We're going to do this deep dive. Normally it would be Friday, right? Normally we do these things at the end of the week. I've got 2 of these master classes during the week, Tuesdays and Fridays. For my internal guys, and then what we did was make these things virtual, right? And so it kind of allowed me to expand on this lesson. Like, you get this one for free. It's on YouTube. It's, whatever, right? You get this kind of thing. But if you want to take that deep dive, I stopped doing webinars. I stopped doing all this stuff that was free because it's eating up like an hour, 2 hours, whatever of my time. And you know what? Most people are tire kickers. They either sign up and don't show up, or they show up and then they do squat with it, right? They don't want to go on to anything else. They're just looking to run around and get a whole bunch of free stuff, right? I'm not an entertaining monkey. You want an entertaining monkey? You get the education part of it, right? If this is too much for you already, well, you're not, because if you're still sticking around, and where are we on this thing, right? We're 26, almost 27 minutes into this. If you're still here, then you're here for education, and I can make that assumption. If you're not, right, if you're the entertainment seeker, you probably bailed out in the first couple of minutes because this guy talks too much, man. When's he going to get to the stuff, right? That you don't want an education. What you want is entertainment. I can be entertaining, but you're going to pay me for that, right? Anyway, so what we're going to look at, like I said, my schedule is all over the place this week. So today we had to start this thing an hour later for those of you who follow us live. Normally we do this on Fridays at 6 Eastern time, and I just wasn't able to make that happen this time. My schedule is just all over the place. So the live class, if you go to that URL that's on the page right there, right? I got to move my fingers in the right direction. If you go to that URL, right, I know it says Friday virtual training, which is when we normally have it, but we're actually going to be doing it next. I talk way too fast even for me, right? We're going to be doing it next Tuesday, right? The 15th, February 15th at 6. So if you're watching this after February 16th, 1, you missed the opportunity, and 2, no, you can't pay me and still get the recording. Okay? All right? So that's the way it works. Okay? That's it, right? I'm looking to just get this out to as many people as possible. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible because, again, I don't want to waste my time. I've got services to pay for, all this stuff. You're getting it for free. It's not free for me to do this stuff, right? So I'm just trying to trim the edges off of all that kind of stuff, right? So the virtual class is $4.99, $4.99. Okay, so if that's too much, well, then just keep dancing around frickin' YouTube, getting entertained, and hopefully you do some training, right? But if you want some structure to it, you want to be led through, you want to move step by step and get some actual, I don't know, skill, ability, whatever, then I'd be more than happy to help you out, all right? But either way, this is one way to look at it. This is the 3-in-1, right? 3 aspects in every one thing. Next week, during that Whiteboard Wednesday, we're going to be taking a look at the 1 and 3. So we're going to invert this, and we're going to look at it from a principle concept base, where there's this one unifying principle actually working inside of techniques that look completely different. Okay? So hopefully you'll be in on that. Hopefully this was helpful. If it was, great. Leave some comments on whatever platform you're on. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, all that kind of stuff, right? If it's helpful, great. If it's not, keep your flaming concept, or whatever, to yourself, okay? Use that on somebody else, because I'm just going to look at it, chuckle, and move on, right? I'm here to help those who want to be helped. That's it. That's all I got for this time around. I know it was a short one, but hey, I'll see you next time.